Welcome back, everyone. The last video we did functions, and this one follows up on that one by showing you how to work with modules. So let's go ahead and see what modules are. I'm going to close this functions and I'm going to select it and shut it down. And I'm going to create a brand new Python 3 notebook and call it 009 modules. Now, modules are something that we use all the time in Python. You saw an example of that when I did import this. And that's basically what a module is. You have written some code that you've saved somewhere and you can import it and then use that code. This particular one just shows you all these print statements that are here. But as an example, for instance, if I want to get the absolute value of a number, print ABS of, let's say, -3. It works because this is built into the math modules that is automatically imported. But I can also import other modules myself. Say, for example, I want to import sys. My sys disappeared. So let's say I've imported sys, and this is referring to the operating system that you're working with. I'm on Windows, you might be on Mac or Linux. I can call sys and do a dot and press the tab key, and a bunch of functions and stuff are available. If I do path, for instance, and do a shift enter here, you can see that it shows you all the paths that Python was searched for to find something, as an example. Now, in Windows, it does show you 2 backslashes because backslash is a special character, it's escaping it. You notice it actually returns a list for us of all the places that it's going to go look for. So what we want to do is basically create our own module. So let me go back to this tab and I'm going to create a new Python 3 notebook. And I'm going to call this one 009. Actually, let me just call it my module, just so that we can work with it. Let's go ahead and do my module. There you go. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to define a function. So I'm going to create my coffee func, and I'm going to pass to it a parameter called person, bugs being the default. I'm going to return coffee time for and dot format pass to it the person. I'm also going to create a message that says something like it's lunchtime, and do a shift enter, and we can test these. Of course, I can do coffee func, Daffy, and I can do message. So it all works. I'm going to delete these two because I want to save this as a module. I don't need that either. So I'm going to do a save here. And this is, of course, saved into the folder on my desktop that I have here. It's called Python. Let me just show you that. So this Python folder has everything saved in it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to Jupyter Notebook here, and I'm going to import my module. We get an error message. It says no module named my module. Why is that? Well, let's go back and take a look at this. What I saved here, when I saved this, it saved it as an IPython notebook. Basically, Jupyter Notebook used to be called IPython, but it saved it as a notebook, not as a .py, not as a Python. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to File and download it as Python. Now, this is going to put it in my downloads folder by default. So let me go to my downloads folder, and you can see that there is my module. And I'm going to basically take this and dump it into the Python folder. So that should be in there now. Let's double check that. Yes, it is. So now that I have it in there, let's go back and do this import again. I'll leave that just so when you're looking at it later, you can see what happened. So I noticed this time it actually imported it. So can I call coffee funk and pass to it, say, Porky? Well, I get an error message. It says coffee funk is not defined. Just because you import a module, it doesn't mean you can just call the functions in it. You have to prefix it with the name of the module. So if I do that, then it of course works. And so we've created our own library at this point. I can also say my module dot message, and it says it's lunchtime, which is great. So it is working. We can also do aliases when we're working with modules. So I can say import my module as mm. And then I can come down here and say, for instance, mm.coffeefunk and pass to it, let's say, Daffy. Of course, I can do mm.coffeefunk and pass nothing, and I would get just bugs, which was the default there. What if you don't want to put the or my module? What I can do then, I can say from my module import, let's say, coffeefunk. This would return just that function, import that functions. And if I do a shift enter here, now I can call coffeefunk directly and basically execute it. If I wanted to bring more than one of these things, I can do that. I can say from my module import coffeefunk and the message. And now I can just type in the message or call coffeefunk. Which one should you do? It's entirely up to you. It's a preference. I do not like to do the from my module very often. I always like to know what functions I'm writing myself and what's being imported. And one of the best ways to know what's being imported is to basically have the prefix for it that says, for instance, my module or aliases. I do use aliases quite a bit, goes without saying. Now, we saw earlier where Python looks to basically find an index. You can always say print sys.path, and it shows you the various paths that it goes looking. And if you put your modules or your libraries into any of these directories, it will find it for you. So it goes without saying, okay? Let's see if there's anything else that I want to cover here. Let's go ahead and also import math. So that's a built-in module to Python. And if I want to find out what's in something, I can always say print directory. So if I do print directory, for instance, my module, since we imported that already. You can see there are a bunch of built-in stuff. We'll go over these underscore stuff later, but you can see there's my coffeefunk and my message. I want to find out what math has. I can say print directory of math once I've imported it. And of course, I forgot to have a closing parentheses here. So again, you have this a bunch of these double underscore stuff, but you can see there are plenty of things that are built in. Over here, for instance, I have sine, hyperbolic sine, square root, tangent, hyperbolic tangent, tau, pi, if I want pi. Some of these are methods, some of these are, of course, attributes or basically values. I can't go ahead and print. If I just print pi, it doesn't work again, but I can say print math.pi, and I get the pi value, because remember, you have to prefix the value or the property attribute or the function with the name of the module. Let's actually do something else a little bit more complicated. So I'm going to call math.cosine of math.radians of 90 degrees. And there's my value, which is awfully close to 0. So it's basically trying to say it is 0. Okay. Let's do a couple of more imports. So I'm going to do import random. Yes, there is a random module in Python. Let's create a courses list, and I'm going to call this history, math, physics, art, music, let's say. I'm going to create a variable called random course, and this is going to be my random dot, and I have a bunch of things here. One of them is choice. Let's pick choice courses, pass to the list, and then print random course, and it printed math. If I were to print random course, I might get something different. So I got math again. Let me do it again, and it seems to like math a lot. No, come on. Okay, it's stuck on math for whatever reason. Random course. Let's do it again, and I keep getting math, which is quite weird if you ask me. I was hoping I'd get something different when I did it. Oh, that's why, because I did this one time. That's my apologies. I need to run this again, and I might get something different. There you go. So both of these will not be history, of course. I didn't realize I was not running the random.choice again. That was my mistake. It's good to make mistakes, so people see that the instructor can make mistakes too. Let's do another import. We can import multiple things. I can import, say, date, time, and also calendar. So let me call date, time, and date, and today, which is going to tell me what today's date is. I can print this, of course, if I wanted to. I can say print date, time, call the date submodule, and then the today method. And it actually prints it out like that. Let's call calendar. I'm going to print calendar dot, and you can see that there are lots of various methods and attributes and stuff available for them. I'm going to call leap, actually is leap, let's say, and I'm going to pass to it 2022, and it says it's false. So let's print calendar dot is leap 2024, and it says it's true. So 2024, we will have a leap year. I hope you enjoyed this, and if you are enjoying these videos, please do share with friends and loved ones. And thank you as always for being a great audience.